The Jamaican government unveils a $350 million Jamaican dollar plan to mitigate drought conditions across Jamaica. This is an excerpt from the Jamaica Observer article. Now, what it is that this Jamaica Observer article highlights is that the means of mitigation is primarily through trucking of water. This trucking of water more than likely will take place via the catchment points that have more of a surplus to locations that are experiencing less of a surplus in terms of the catchment water, that is. So what you should keep in mind now is that this approach is considered as a short-term or a fast-acting approach in the context of drought mitigation. Now, what it is that we as a country must make sure that we are also investing in is that of long-term drought mitigation practices. And the reality is that us having that balance is proven to be increasingly challenging, with us also increasing our infrastructural development. By doing so, we are basically altering the watershed. So by removing the trees, by removing the natural landscape, we are basically replacing it with more urban landscapes. And in essence, it's also a case whereby we are reducing our natural capacity to have water be retained or basically captured first and then retained within the natural landscape, such as in our rivers, in our springs, as an example, such as in our groundwater. This is basically what it is that we should also be investing in on a long term. So whilst we are making our investments in our infrastructural developments and in the industries such as tourism, we must also make significant inroads in ensuring that the Jamaican overall landscape is basically managing the health of our watersheds adequately, because this is not going to be a sustainable drought mitigation approach. Having this short-term fix of trucking from major sources of catchment or surplus sources of catchment to areas of less catchment is not going to prove to be an effective measure in the next 5 years, 10 years, if it's a case that we are also being projected to experience an increase in global temperatures, an increase in duration, or even so, the increase in the erratic nature of our dry season in terms of its length and in terms of its intensity per se. We have to understand that these drought conditions is a consistent, it's like no, it is just a norm. So if that is the case, our population must be sensitized just the same in making sure that we are safeguarding our watersheds, that we are planting back our trees, that we are basically contributing to landscapes. If it's even a case that we are going to be adjusting the landscapes for our own urban developments, that we have a consented, or rather a much more concentrated approach towards having greenery, because this heat, this dry condition is not going away. And trucking alone is not going to be that solution that can assist the critical infrastructure adequately. We must also keep in mind that the geology is highly linked to our water access or water availability. So if it's a case that majority of the country being limestone would have underground water, then we must make sure that we are just the same protecting those aquifers, and these aquifers form part of the watershed. We must make sure that when it comes to the time of the wet season, when we are experiencing the flash flooding or we're experiencing the intense rainfall, that our engineering systems are in place to channel the water to our catchment points. This is our new norm. Drought conditions, erratic dry spells, or persistent dry spells is a part of our new norm. And as we continue our drive towards national development, our population must be fully adherent to the reality that our environment must also be protected, safeguarded, and maintained for our current generation and for future generations.